Those kinds of philosophies are really important for social media. I've been a part of 70,000 pieces of content.
Does that count when we posted every picture we had in our camera roll on Facebook? I'm like, and then I'm in the 100,000.
I'm not even counting those days, yeah. My hot take is to every C-level person out there.
Welcome to In Her Direction, a podcast about creativity, career, girlhood, and the stories behind what we make. I'm your host, Brittany Doohan, and before we get into the episode, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify and anywhere else you get your podcasts, and follow on Instagram and TikTok at In Her Direction Show. Our guest today has built social strategies for brands like Crocs, Duolingo, and the OG YouTuber comedy brand Smosh. Has created and piloted TV shows, and is a content creator with over 400,000 followers across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Rude Unicorns. And might I add, has an impeccable and very whimsical fashion sense. Welcome, Sarah Whittle.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat today.
I know, me too. In this episode, we'll talk about creating work for brands versus your personal online presence, and the importance of betting on yourself and how to do it. But before we get there, let's rewind to the earlier chapters of you as a creative. From your earliest moments to today, what were the experiences, people, or things that inspired you most during different chapters of your life?
That's a deep question.
I know. We're really starting strong.
It's beefy. I would say, like, growing up, my mom was, like, very, very creative, and my dad, too, and they always had cameras. I also was watching a lot of TV, watching my brother play video games, so I definitely was always curious, always asking questions, and always seeing things around me that were creative, so that definitely started a life of me being forever curious, forever creative. And then I'm a millennial, so I experienced life without the internet and with the internet. I watched Hulu when there was no ads on Hulu.
What's that like?
Yeah, exactly. And then also the early days of YouTube. So I was watching Grace Helbig, who is now one of my best friends in real life, and Jenna Marbles, and being like, you can do this without the traditional gatekeepers of like traditional media. So I've always just been someone who's like consumed media and been really curious about the world around me. So that's always been really inspiring.
I had a similar upbringing where, like, my grandmothers were very creative. They were artists, and they loved musicals and singing. And then my dad was sort of always this, like, hustler doing fun creative businesses and stuff like that. So I feel like in the same vein, I was, like, inspired by my family in that way. And I was like, I want to do all the things, which is, like, a blessing and a curse. But
and I'm also a theater kid, too. So I love doing theater, speech and debate, and improv. And comedy has really been, like, a driving force, like my secret weapon throughout my career, and even doing brand strategy. I have a keynote that I am writing currently about yes and how improv fundamentals really help with brand strategy. So that's always been my secret weapon, because I did the math the other day and I've been a part of 70,000 pieces of content in my career.
How do you even count that?
You know, it's like a rough estimate. It's like, oh, how many times a day did we used to post? How many things? How many this? And like, there was times where I was posting like 6 times on Facebook alone when I was running socials for Smosh.
When you said that, I was like, oh, does that count when we like posted every picture we had in our camera roll on Facebook? I'm like, and then I'm in the 100,000.
I'm not even counting those days, yeah.
Like actual, like, you know, professional
pieces of content.
Yeah, not like Coachella selfies.
Photo dumps from the night at the bar.
I looked through
those were the days.
I know, but they're like, your memories are so captured there. And I'm like, I don't do that anymore. So I'm like, it's just all like in my phone, which I'm like, if this gets lost, I don't even know if it's on the cloud.
Oh no, I'm same. My cloud has been out of storage for the last 10 years.
And I'm like, do I even pay for it? I don't know.
Exactly.
Like my login, what is it? I don't know. So whether, you know, you're looking back to a time when you were younger or like in your work today, when would you say you feel you're most creative?
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I feel my most creative when I do have some sense of agency to make the decisions, because I feel like, you know, even in a social team environment or in a team environment, when someone or a small group of people are able to take agency and make those decisions and make the little things that make make it really magical and special, like that's where I really thrive. I found that when I'm in environments when there's too many cooks in the kitchen or too much control or micromanagement, I think that just like dulls and waters it all down. And I think, you know, we've seen a lot of social teams really thrive with like some sort of freedom. And my hot take is to every C-level person out there, like your next favorite LinkedIn influencer might be on your team. And are you giving them the resources and are you giving them the opportunities to really flourish? Or are they going to leave your brand and then you're going to be like, oh shit, we had them in the house.
Yeah.
And we fumbled the bag. So I love to take control of my work, but that doesn't mean I'm not collaborative. I don't actually love doing things on my own. I love doing it with other people, having other perspectives, having other talents that are going to yes and my idea to the next level that I couldn't even conceive of. Good collaboration is actually good negotiation. So there's been rooms where I've butt heads with like a creative team member or something. And really the question I ask is like, what do you care about the most? I'll tell you what I care about the most, and then let's compromise and find a middle ground so that all of us can be happy, because 9 times out of 10 we don't care actually about the same thing. So I think these can both work together. But I think it's like a lot of people view collaboration as like, oh, my way or the highway, or I need to get 90% of what I want and you get 10%. And I believe that the percentages can be a lot more fair, obviously, with what are the goals and strategy behind it.
Totally agree. And hopefully the partner you're working with sees that too, you know, because that is a big factor as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of hesitation between like negotiating in life and anything. I sold someone a mattress 2 weeks ago and they didn't even want to negotiate because they were like, oh, that's too much. And I was like, you can negotiate. Like,
conversation.
We can talk about this. So I think never hesitate to negotiate. It doesn't need to be a hostile negotiation. It can be like, what do you want? What do you care about? This is what I want. This is what I care about. Okay, how do we find the middle ground?
Yeah, that's good advice. I have a follow-up question only because you mentioned it twice and I'm very curious just for like, you know, a quick sort of elevator pitch on what it is. You mentioned yes and.
Yes.
So I'm just curious if you could tell our listeners what is that?
Yeah. Yes and is like the basic fundamentals of improv comedy. And improv comedy is like people going up on stage and just making shit up. But the lifeblood that you need in those improv scenes is yes and. So yes and doesn't mean I'm just saying yes and accepting whatever you're saying. I'm also adding on to it. And it also doesn't mean that I'm just complying to everything you're saying. So yes and in a scene looks like if I come into a scene with you and I go, Mom, I don't want to do my homework today, then you have figured out that you are my mother and we have this conflict of like doing the homework. So how would you accept that? You're saying, yes, I am the mother. And then you add on top of it. So you could say like, yeah, but sweetie, you pushed off this deadline and now you're 21 and you haven't graduated high school yet. You've added to this story. And then the compliance part of it is yes and is not automatic compliance. So if we did a scene and we're at a bank and I'm robbing you at the bank and I say, give me your money, naturally you're not in real life, you're not going to be like, here's all my money. You're going to put up some fight. So you're not going to naturally comply to my request. So I think those kinds of philosophies are really important for social media because whether you're talking about culture or something trending or something like that, I think what social teams are getting in the habit of is just taking the thing, yes, and just like putting it out there. I think we've seen, you know, Life of a Showgirl or even that Empire State Building couple that went to the top. Exactly. They are just saying yes, and we're just going to slap our logo on it. You're actually not deepening the connection to the brand and the story. You're not even moving the story along. You're just slapping your logo on it. So my challenge to everyone is really channel that yes and energy of like, what else are you adding to the story and how are you tying it to like your brand or what you're posting online?
That's so smart. Yeah. I'm like, I've always been interested in taking improv. And like, even when you said the mother thing where it's like, now your mother, I just felt this pressure. I'm like, oh my God, what would I say? I don't even know.
I highly recommend like every single person on planet Earth, whether you work in social media or not, or creative or not, like improv fundamentals are so important for life and teach you how to listen, teach you how to support, teach you how to pattern recognition, like, and teach you how to fail and give yourself a break, like fail with freedom. So yeah, I will always say it. Take an improv class. Take an improv class. You should take an improv class.
Okay, I will.
It is so valuable. And, you know, in Improv 101, like these intro improv classes, it's always a nice character study, too, because there's so many different personalities.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, I love the phrase that you said, freedom to fail, because that is always the scariest part. Like, even, you know, thinking about, like, what would I say if I was in an improv when I was your mother?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what if it's wrong? And I'm like, what? How is it wrong?
Exactly. The wonderful thing is about improv is, like, if you're adopting the yes and philosophy, you're not actually doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going, no, I'm your daughter, then that's where you're going wrong.
And everyone's confused and giving a weird look. Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm going to have a better segue. What's a better segue?
Yes, and.
That's so smart. Yes, and. So as we're getting to know you a little bit more, let's do a segment called A Thing About Me.
Oh, okay.
In this segment, you'll teach us one thing about you, your creative process, a skill, useful or useless.
Oh, nice.
A story, something you love, or something completely random you're good at. So you can say, a thing about me is...
Oh, okay. I have a lot of lore, and I have a very large digital footprint. So I have
As
a lot of different things. Yeah.
70,000?
Yeah. 70,000 posts. Well, when I was younger, I actually went to space camp in Belgium because I lived in Germany for a little bit, and I learned how to whistle with my hands. So I'm going to try to attempt it. Are you ready? Watch, I completely fail. Okay, I'm going to take the rings off. This is going to be such a bummer. This is going to be such a bummer if I can't do this. And then we're going to have to cut this whole thing. That's as good as it's going to get today.
That's awesome, but I'm also like, why do you need that in space?
I know, exactly. No, I learned it from like an instructor at space camp during the like lunch period. That's it.
Oh my gosh. If we had more time, I'd be like, teach me. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wear rings, clearly.
Yeah, can't do it with the rings.
Okay, awesome. It just reminded me of Friends with Space Camp. I don't know if you watch Friends or know Friends.
I don't know that episode. They went to space camp?
Well, no. What was it? It's too much to get into, probably. I was like, this kid is like, dad was like gambling all the money away, and they really wanted to go to space camp.
Oh,
so
funny.
Ross and Chandler made the kid their own space camp, in a room,
nice.
and then it's cute. Anyways, moving on. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about your creative process. Present day.
Yeah.
You've created content and done social strategies for some very well-known brands, as we know, but you also create for your own audience.
Yeah.
In your career, you've helped a lot of brands and creators find their voice. What do you think helped you find yours?
Oh, I think that's a really hard question. I think it's actually easier to create a voice for another brand or a creator because you're able to like take yourself out of it while also adding yourself into the strategy or the creative ideas. I think when you put up a mirror against yourself, like that's the hardest. And so how I found my voice, and I'm still discovering my voice because I have so many different kind of personas and different things I want to do. Very Aquarius of me to be non-committal. But you find your voice by speaking out loud. You just got to do it. You got to get the reps in. You got to figure out what feels good and what doesn't feel good. And with that people-pleasing tendency, you're kind of like, oh, what does the audience want or whatever. I think a lot of us suffer from not being real with what we like to do and what makes us feel good and what actually gets us into that flow state. So I'm still discovering it, and I do all types of different formats, all different types of content. Like my social handles have always been a creative outlet for me and not necessarily like something that I wanted a personal brand or I wanted to be America's Next Top Influencer. I actually didn't. I gave up on my on-camera dreams years ago because I also saw a lot of dark sides to it. But, it took me years of like figuring out what I wanted to do, what I wanted to say, how I wanted to say it to be able to like do what I do today.
I totally relate to that and finding your creative voice. And you said speaking out loud. I mean, like for me, I'm in the process of finding my creative voice too. But I think just putting out random content that I find is interesting and like tapping into that feeling of, do I want to make this because it's like something I saw, or I don't wear this because it's something I saw and it's like trending, or is this something like I really deep down love and I get like the ooey gooey butterflies like in my own body. I think the only way to strengthen that feeling is to just like put shit out there
Exactly.
and then like be like, okay, I feel this way. Or it's
Exactly.
like, I put out a piece of content once where I was like, I am so embarrassed to put this out. And I'm like, I'm still embarrassed even looking back at it. But I was like, it was a step because I thought it was funny and cool, even though I'm like so embarrassed because there's no proven track record that kind of thing works yet.
Exactly.
So it's not like a guarantee, you know?
And the internet has shown you that, like, whatever you get nerdy about, whatever you put out there, like, if it's good enough, like, there could be an audience out there for that. Like, I was just listening to Human, which is Hank Green's new podcast with the Black Forager, and she grew up and blew up on social because she just foraged around and found mushrooms and plants that you could eat on the ground. Like, that is so niche, and she was able to quit her social media job to be able to do that full time. So it's like, you shouldn't just go with what you think will be popular and what the audience will like. Like, nerds are in, giving a shit is cool, and like putting stuff out there that you're proud of, I think is really going to be the way that like you can find your voice publicly. Finding your voice personally is like a different challenge in itself too.
Yes. And I think it's important to note that you're probably, in finding that voice, going to mess up a lot.
Yeah.
You're going to put stuff out there that, you know, flops, if you will, but that's like that's part of the process.
Yeah, that's the cost of entry. Flopping is a part of the cost of entry, especially in today's algorithms. Like, even your favorite celebrity on social is not consistent with the views and the impressions across the board, and that's just is what it is now these days. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I got you. So it's time for another segment. We love the segments, you know. Yeah. Trying to get juicy up in here. This is called You Don't Even Go Here, where we highlight the disconnect between how much people judge creative work versus how little they understand what goes into making it. Yeah. So what's something people have a lot of opinions about, and it's like, you don't even go here. Yeah, you don't even go here. Social is not easy. I think the good ones make it look easy, but the ones that are doing it every day actually know how hard it is. Like, even filming a video, oftentimes, like, as a personal creator, it's me, but I'm shooting, lighting, filming, editing, doing all the things. And so when it comes to a brand team and having a one-person social media team, that is absolutely insanity in 2026. I understand orgs are of all different shapes and sizes, but social is not a one-person team. Social is not a magic wand. Social is a media company. And so you have to look at it as a TV station. Who is putting on the lights, who is switching the cameras, who is editing the different things. I had my start in local TV news, so that's why I'm speaking from this experience.
Lights, camera, action.
Yeah, and so maybe the old traditional film TV crews, maybe they're like too many, and they're so big and they're a little slower than what we need in the digital age. But social media is not a one-person job, and going viral, there is no going viral button, because if I had that button, I wouldn't be working a job and I would just be being an influencer online.
Yeah. So the people who think social media is easy, like, get out of here. You don't even go here.
Yeah, exactly. Try it then. I think if you think social media is easy, you should try it. And something I actually would love to do is like a series of like Undercover Boss, but it's actually C-level executives doing a week as someone on the social media team, putting up posts from start to finish. Because I think a lot of C-level executives have also said if they're not posting every day, they're not working, which is absolute insanity to me.
I would watch that.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that sounds really good. And I feel like also you would learn so much as someone who's interested in being better at social media, where it's like, oh, that's what goes into it. And also shuts up all the people that think they know. They have no idea.
And like, you know, respect the game. The game is hard and the game is moving all the time. So something that I say is like, social media is like sports, but like a TikTok is like football and YouTube is like basketball. Yes, they both have balls and players, but how you win the games are completely different. Now imagine if those rules of the games changed every quarter. That is what's happening on social media.
So frustrating. Oh my gosh, I feel that too. I'm like trying to explore just like, what does it mean for, you know, to post on Instagram more and post on YouTube now, whereas like I'm completely neglecting, but it's just like a whole, like you said, different ball game.
It's a different ball game.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like you have to be an expert in all of these media platforms to be successful on them. It's like the intro has to be different, the length, the like the titles, and you know, it's just insane. It's really good practice and exercise to be doing that, but it's just like wild for one person.
Oh yeah, one person, it's a lot. Like I have so many channels and it's a lot to even just manage those with one post across all of the platforms. So
yeah,
it's a media company. Like if you're posted on social, you are a media company.
100%. Well, kudos to us who do the lighting and the editing and all the things behind the scenes. It's like possible, but it's so much better with a team. Like you said, like collaborating with people, different minds, you know, you gotta build the team. Okay, so speaking of building things, we've talked a little bit about your incredible career you've had so far, but now you're leaning into consulting and building a business. How did you know it was time to quit your job and bet on yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my whole career has been a bet on myself. I moved out to New York, went to school out in New York and was like, I want to work in television. So I got a television production degree and I graduated in 2011 when the unemployment rate for new grads was actually double what it is today. So it was really challenging. And it was during like the recession and everything. And so I always just like figured it out. And so I think that's really what that yes and mentality was, is like I was smart with my luck. In the rooms I was in or the interviews I had, I would try to take full advantage of it. And so I've always just done that in my career. And after I was in Los Angeles for many years working for Smosh, which was like more of a YouTube creator field, I wanted to expand my resume and look at my career as a portfolio so that I would be hireable anywhere in the space. And so that's when I transitioned to brand marketing at Crocs and was the head of social at Crocs from 2021 to 2024. And I did really, really solid work there, kind of channeling the same YouTube skills and organic social creative skills that I had to now selling holy shoes. And so I looked at that and then I just wanted one cherry on top brand afterwards. And that's when I got my role as a director on the Duolingo social team to talk about product marketing and bring product marketing strategy to their team and also experiment on their YouTube channel. And so after I got a couple of reps under my belt and did work that I was super proud of, I was hearing from the universe, meaning I was getting reached out to by recruiters every week asking me to do the same thing that I did at Crocs, at Smosh, at at Duolingo for their brand. And I was like, maybe it's time for me to do that for myself and try that for myself. I've always figured it out. I've always had my back, and maybe I don't have all the answers right now, but I have enough of a cushion to like figure it out. And so I'm in my figure it out phase and it's been awesome. I just celebrated 3 months of being my own CEO. Yeah.
Congrats. That's so cool.
And it's been amazing. Yeah. And I've done a lot of side quests too. So I highly recommend anyone working any job, like invest in your side quests too. I auditioned for like an off-Broadway show, like a theater show. And I've done so many random things. I went traveling to Morocco. So these things just like fulfill me more in my creative life. So highly recommend investing in some side quests.
I mean, I'm all about the side quest.
Yeah.
I have too many at times where I'm like, okay, I need to like purge side quests so I can actually like be good at 17 of them.
The main quest, yeah.
The main quest, yeah. That's like a whole other thing where it's like, how do you know what to focus on? I guess it's just like, you know, it figures its way out, or it figures itself out, I think, as you just keep trying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I've done and I'm like, oh, I don't do that anymore. But it's like, you know, you moved on.
You evolve, you try things out. I say a lot of things in life are like you figure out how to ride a bike and then you figure out if you like to ride the bike.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's so true. So in the same vein of like figuring it out, a lot of people might hold themselves back for fear of, you know, of course, failure or just like judgment. What would you say to someone who's struggling to put themselves out there online or just generally or creatively?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're in a creative field, you have to like get it out of you some way. So like The Creative Way, which is a creative book, they say like when you have an idea, it's trying to find its way out through you. And if you don't let it out, it'll find a different vessel to come out of. So a lot of times when you see something and you're like, oh, I was just thinking that. Well, it found its way through another vessel. So I think as a creative person, you do need to get it out. But do you need to get it out publicly or personally, like that's a total personal question to yourself. You know, in what I do, I have to put myself out there publicly, and that's nerve-wracking, and I still get nervous to this day, even 70,000 posts later. But I think that is also the cost of entry, is like putting yourself out there. The more you put yourself out there, the more visible you are, the more you are finding your voice and what feels authentic versus inauthentic. And so, yeah, putting yourself out there as a creative person is just a part of it. But I swear, it's not as scary as it feels if you're really, really proud and confident about the direction that you're going in. So if you're asking yourself, why do I feel cringe, or why do I feel nervous, or why do I do this? Answer those questions earnestly so that you're able to like put yourself out there with your best foot forward.
And I think the more you do it, it's like a muscle. It just gets easier and easier. And it's like they say, you can't edit an empty page, where it's like you have to put something out there to refine it, which is like, I've learned so much even making this podcast. Like the first episode, I was like, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I was awkward. It was like kind of choppy. And like, I feel like looking at it now, and even just how I prepare the podcast, I'm like, it's so much better, but I wouldn't have learned that if I didn't just go for it. And if I didn't just put out the medium okay episodes to then get better ones. And it's like, I'm still growing from it, but this, like, that's just an example of like, if you want to post something online, it's just like, do it, and then you can get better. It's like, you don't see the behind the scenes a lot of the time. You see when people are successful and they figured it all out.
Exactly. And if you're working in social, like the great thing is that if you put out a piece of content and it's not successful, no one has seen it. Like the algorithm's like, oh, we're not showing it to anyone. So take what you can learn from that and try something different the next time. So it's really a resilience game when it comes to being in a creative field. And I know it feels like a lot because it's like a part of your heart and a part of your mind because you're strategically doing it, but also bringing your passion to the table. But it's just a resilience game. Just like keep going. I make the joke with my friends of like content till we die, but it's like the optimistic thing. It's like there's another post another day that's going to come out. So this one doesn't have to be the one that makes or breaks it.
Yeah. I think something I struggle with is I feel like oftentimes, even though I put something out there, I'm like, it's not quite what I envisioned it to be. Because like my vision is so much more like involves so much more talent and probably budget than what I can put out myself. Yeah. So it's almost like it's hard when you're like, I'm going to put out what I can put out, which I should. But then it's like, I have this vision of it being like so much greater than I can actually do. But it's like, at least you're putting it out there, and like maybe you can figure out on how to make it better later.
Exactly. Maybe that's an alpha test so that you can build up to the bigger thing, or like an experiment to see even if that's the direction you want to go to. But I actually have a framework that is on my newsletter. It's called the Unicorn Idea Framework. And I think this is something that like, if you're ever stuck in that kind of place of like, what do I do? What are my resources? Like, how do I come up with all these ideas? This has always helped me kind of like bring me back down to reality, and also helped me a lot in my career. So you have like 3 circles, and then finding that magic spot where the 3 circles overlap is really the magic. So the first circle is like, what's the strategy? What's the point? What's the goals that you're ultimately wanting? That second circle is like, what are your resources? What are the challenges? What are the timelines? Like, what is the budget, those kind of things. And then the last circle is, what is your passion? What do you want for your portfolio? What do you want to create? Do you have a dream? Do you have a niche? Are you a fan of something? So if you can converge those 3 things and find that intersection, that's where I think the magic really is.
I would love to play with that.
Yeah.
I would love to try that out, because sometimes, it's like it helps to have an exercise like that as well. Because if it's just you creating, then you're not necessarily asking the questions that make you think more deeply about it, or you might not think of it at times. So it's like having that practice or exercise to help you think kind of outside the box a little bit more is really helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one last question. What does showing up authentically in life, work, or online mean to you?
Ooh, I think authenticity is a word that's like thrown around a lot on social media because they're like, oh, they're so authentic. But the reality is that they're strategically sharing what they think is authentic. And that's something that I get feedback a lot about. It's like, you're so authentic in the content. And the reality is like, I don't know how else to be. And I used to be a really good actor when I was a theater kid in high school. Now, not so much. So I think it's all about like that end of the day feeling. Like, do you feel in your gut, in your heart, and in your mind that you are proud of yourself and what you're putting out there? And if the motivations are really authentic to like what makes you happy. So, there's a lot of grifters online. Like, how do they sleep at night? Because it's like, are they just wanting it for the money game? So I think living authentically is just like really genuinely like the definition of it is like, at the end of the day, when you're by yourself, are you happy? Are you happy with what you put yourself out there with? And look, like, I think something that gets like convoluted, especially with like maybe Gen Z, maybe some millennials, is like, well, at my job, I'm going to be my full authentic self. But the reality is like, they're only paying you for hopefully 8 hours a day. So that's only a third of your day. So you should bring like a third of yourself to the table. But it's like, are they going to be wanting your flirtatious, like diva self at work? Probably not. Do they want your smart, strategic, professional? Yes. So there are different aspects to everyone and what authenticity looks like in many different areas and relationships in your life. So honor that and be smart about that and come to the table with what you think you are. But don't get convoluted with like, I'm going to be 100% me 100% of the time, because sometimes it's just not the time and place.
Yeah. Or just like, like different versions of yourself.
Exactly.
Where it's like you are smart enough to know like you can't be one way in one situation and like, one way in another situation, where it's like you can show up authentically as that version of yourself.
Exactly.
But it's like you don't just have to be like like the same all the time.
Everything all the time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When I worked at Crocs, a lot of my coworkers were like, oh, I saw your TikTok. And my TikTok and my Instagram content is very different of like how I present myself at work to a point. And, did it hurt me in the long run or benefit me? Who knows? I think it's a yes on both sides.
Yeah. And it's also like, I would hope to work with people who understand, especially in a creative field, that it's like, that is a good thing, like this creative expression that is separate from the job you do every day. It expands you. And it's like, it can only be a good thing, even if you think it's a little weird or a little cringe or whatever you think about it. But it's also a good practice in just like, as long as I'm not doing anything that's like hurting anyone or just like completely like hurting the company or setting the reputation in a weird way, like, who cares?
No, I think that's like a battle. That's like, if you have a personal brand that's out there and then you also work like a 9 to 5, there's always this battle of like, okay, how do the two live together in this space? And you're going to have to figure it out. But I think like tactically, like, figure out what you can share and what you can't share about the job that you're at. And also it doesn't hurt to like talk to people that you work with about like what's kosher and what's not kosher. Because there has been a few times in my experience, not anything I've shared, but what other people have shared on like LinkedIn that like, you can't really share that kind of information. You're going to have to delete that post.
Yeah.
So also something to be aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I work in video production and, creating content. I like to do behind the scenes type stuff. And sometimes I'm like, I haven't run into any issues yet because I am mindful about like, I don't share anything before it's launched or things
exactly.
like, you got to know the rules a little bit.
Exactly.
You can't just like, be
say
irresponsible.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. This conversation was awesome. I learned so much from you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. You can find Sarah on LinkedIn at Sarah Whittle Digital and on Instagram and TikTok at Rude Unicorns.
Yes, and I also relaunched my newsletter not too long ago. It's at unicorn-social.com, and that's where I share tactical tips on how to do social media based on my real life experience.
So good. Go check that out. Don't forget to subscribe to In Her Direction on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts, and follow on Instagram and TikTok at In Her Direction Show. See you next time.